but we are really excited because we are going to look at doing a potential mission trip over to Brazil for sort of 2 weeks. We're going to work out dates, but I'll let Bex do our talk and tell you all, and then we can share a little bit more about that. So, hand over to Bex.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so it's really exciting when I hear you talk about that mission trip. Like, Kelly's here tonight. Kelly and I went out on a mission trip, and you'll see a photo of us later on. We'll talk a bit more about that later on. And Paul's been out on a mission trip as well. Paul's my husband. We went out at separate times. So I've been out with my family originally when I was 11. Went back out again when I was 16 on a mission trip, and it just absolutely changes your life. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it really, really does. And hopefully we'll give you a snapshot of why and what they do, and how it runs basically, and how you can go out and how you can help. So yeah, we love the project. We're really passionate about it, and I rang Ruth. Ruth and Maconda are the two that run the project out in Brazil. And I rang Ruth in the summer, and I just said, we can't get out there at the moment, but I really want to help you guys out in some way. And I said, is there something on social media that I can get involved in? And she said, actually, just before we came over to England, we were praying that someone would say to us about social media. And I was like, okay. And I don't know much about social media, but I literally just put posts up on the Facebook page and write a bit for their newsletter and stuff like that. So, and then when we got this opportunity to come and share, we were really excited that you guys wanted to hear about it and wanted to know about it. So yeah, that's why we are here tonight. So yeah, as you can see from this very first slide, the school is situated in the middle of a favela or a slum in Fortaleza, North Brazil. And this is a typical street in the slum. So you can see the poverty just from the clothing, the street, how the buildings look. Everyone just acquires a space and builds their own property and that space. So that's sort of what you'll see as you come into the project. Right, so this slide, in 1983, Macondas, I think he owned the bakery. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was taking some bread out on the street to the street children because he just saw a need and wanted to help. And he's from Fortaleza originally. He saw the need in his own community and the poverty that was going on. And he wanted to go and help. And he went out and he found these children sleeping, and he gave them food, he gave them bread. And as he was walking away, they said, "Sir, are you coming back tomorrow?" And he suddenly felt a call from God that he could not leave those kids, and he could not do anything about the problem. So they started off with this bakery, and they were doing some things with that and feeding children. And then he wanted to go back to the source that then to stop them from getting on the streets before they get to that stage. Because what happens is these families are so poor in the slums that the parents are going out to work and trying to get as much money as possible, but when the kids get to a certain age and they can go out and beg and go on the streets, they send them out there rather than sending them to school, because they look at the immediate next day. We need money for tomorrow, so what do? We go and beg on the street. And you are now old enough to go and do that at 5, 6, 7 years old. And so they don't get an education, and then this poverty just continues. So Mark thought, right, how are we going to get to the point where they're not actually going on the streets? We need to educate these people. We need to make sure that they know the value of education and what that can give you in the future. So then my dad and a guy called Dave Garlick and Maconda sort of got together, and Maconda shared the vision for what he wanted to do. And they started this charity, and eventually it grew into the school. So we'll look at Fortaleza. You can see up there where the heart is, that's roughly where it is in Brazil. And the population is 3 million, so it's quite huge. And what you'll see this if you go out, you drive down a street and there's these lovely houses, beautiful houses, and then suddenly you get into an area where there's like extreme poverty, like next door. So there's like these extremes, one to the other. Next slide, please. So after the pandemic especially, poverty in the cities is absolute highest in 10 years. Sorry, am I off the camera now? I'm just...
You're fine, you can do whatever you want. You're on the camera,
So yeah, so it's absolute highest in 10 years. So they are obviously fighting against this battle of keeping the kids in education so that they don't end up going out on the streets and begging. Next one, please. So you can see the type of conditions that people are living in, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. Like there's points on a trip when you'll be having so much fun with the people that you're with, and it will just be, you feel like you're doing all this stuff and it's great, and then suddenly something will just hit you because it can't not. Like the poverty that you see is just like, it humbles you just completely and makes you absolutely appreciate everything that you took for granted before. Like, it is crazy. But yeah, so these are some of the kids, the typical sort of scenes you might see as you walk around the slum. And if you go out on a mission trip, they'll take you out into that. They'll take you into the slum, so you can really get a feel for what the families are living in and where these children are coming from at home. Yeah, so there's just a few facts about Brazil really, but there are 509 favelas, shanty towns in the city, so there's like loads. 10% of the population live there. The physical conditions are bad, and as you can see, that they have sewage running down the street. They don't have proper housing. It's not secure. There's quite a lot of gang culture that goes on in the slums, and yeah, just extreme poverty and disease. And as you can imagine, through COVID, that was really difficult because people are living in such close proximity. So it spread a lot quicker. Yeah, next one. So this picture, I remember seeing this like a long time ago, but you just see like the rubbish on the streets and how people live. The really ironic thing is, I don't know if you remember this, Kelly, you actually, when you go into someone's home, the street might look really, really rough and awful, but then you go into someone's home, and even though it's like a shack, they keep it so beautiful. Like, there's a real pride in their property, and it was just such an eye-opener. These people really want a good home. They really want a beautiful home, and obviously circumstances are not like that. Next one. Right, so here you can see the actual school. So as you come through the gates, you start to see these buildings. These are some of the classrooms. Over in the corner there is where we stayed, where the dorms are. And then there's more classrooms here that have been built. And I think actually when you were out there, Paul, those were the classrooms that you were helping to build or carry the stuff for. So yeah, next one. Yeah, so this is Univida partners with a sister organisation. When I went out there, it was called CBC, so it's called Crianças do Brasil para Cristo, which means Children of Brazil for Christ. But now they partner with them, yeah, and they have a walled compound in the heart of the slum community of Fortaleza. So just like I said, you walk into the gates and you see this amazing school, and there are parts of it that need work, and what they will get you to do as part of your mission trip is to actually help with some of that building work, like painting and carrying bricks and doing lots of bits and bobs like that. And then the other side of it will be being amongst the children and working with them and doing activities and Bible clubs and stuff like that. So this is Ruth. Some of you may know Ruth. So she's married to Macondas, who started the project originally. And obviously they have such a close relationship with the kids, and obviously their heart is all for them and trying to support them. And the love that you receive from these children is just absolutely incredible. And the joy, like, you're so incredibly amazed that they've come from what they've come from, and then they come in and they're so joyful and loving and giving. I don't know if you remember, but we used to get tons and tons of gifts. And you sort of wanted to give it back to them because you think, I've got stuff, I'm fine, like, you need this. But no, they're so like generous and kind, and it really, really humbles you. So yeah, there's Ruth having a typical day in the school amongst the children. And music and drama is a massive thing, and they try to take that out into the community as well and put on events. And football, obviously Brazil is massive on football, and they have a really good now sports facility that they use, and they bring families in to watch events and stuff like that. And then obviously they have their normal lessons where they learn all the stuff that they would in state school, but this gives them a more varied education. In state school they get the very basics, when they come here they get a lot more variety. Next up. So this is the team of teachers that are out there. Actually some of them were out there when we were there lots of years ago, so they have stayed the test of time, but then others are quite new. So Macondas is just here, there he is. And the rest of the teachers at the school, they're very close. They sit every morning and they pray and they drink coffee and they put sugar in and the ants float to the top and they scrape the ants up. It's one thing I remember from being out there. But yeah, they're a really close team and they just love working with these children. Next up. So these next three slides are people that have graduated. So this is a guy that went to the project and now he's in like the building trade. So he earns a good wage and he's managed to get himself out of the depths of poverty, which is amazing. Next up. The PE teacher at the school, he's actually a graduate from Univida as well. So that's amazing. Next up. And solicitor. So they actually do go on to go to college, because they stay till they're 18, they then go on to, a lot of them, go to college and then obviously get a much better education and much better opportunities and jobs. And it is hard. They do lose families to poverty, so they do lose families who have decided they need to pull their kid out and send them, but there's a really good the school has a really good name in the community. Like, people would love their kids. There's a waiting list because they absolutely really want to get their kids in here because they see the long-term now effects that it's having for these families. So this is chapel. So on a Friday they have something called chapel and they basically just meet and have worship time and prayer time, and the kids really like get into it and they sing and they dance. And I think part of being a Brazilian is that you just like, you let loose. You know, in Britain we're very much like, we just don't express ourselves. Like, they just express themselves so amazing. And they invite the parents in a lot now, and they've got more space to be able to do that, and then their parents see the amazing effects and the message of Jesus when they come into this space. Because a lot of these families, they're not like church families, they don't know God, and their kids are taking that home to them and they're telling them all about Jesus, and that is just so incredible. Next up. And this is the new kitchen. So when we were there, it doesn't actually look that different in terms of space, but they've had it all updated and redone. So when they get more funding and things each time, they try to improve the facilities at the school. So this is the teachers meeting in the morning in the new kitchen, having their breakfast and their coffee. Next up. These are the two chefs at the school. I think the one on the left was there when I went out. I recognise her. But yeah, so these are the two chefs and they work at the school and they feed the children. They feed them one meal, so they come either in the morning or in the afternoon, and they feed them a meal during that time, and it is really good, and they get good food and they learn about health and they learn about how to keep themselves healthy, and that's really, really good. And this is Macondas just walking around. The relationship that he has with the children is just incredible to see. And I remember I was 11 years old when I went out and I watched him do this. He does this all the time, just walks around, chats to people. And I remember being 11 and I looked at him and I thought, that's Jesus. And I remember seeing what Jesus would look like in a person doing that for the children. So this is just the kitchen, so they queue up here for their food and they come and like wash their hands. Now, hygiene is obviously not a thing that they're really taught in the home necessarily, and then they come into the school and they teach them all about how to keep themselves healthy and hygiene and stuff like that. So it's a really big deal just before they eat. I remember there was a swimming pool at the school, I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, there's a swimming pool at the school, and I remember the kids coming in and it was like time for them to come and play in the swimming pool, and they jumped in and it just all went black. We were like, wow, okay, these kids haven't washed in a while. So yeah, there's obviously a lot to teach them about hygiene and health. Next up. This is just a front view of the school, so you can see how they try to keep it colourful and just exciting for the children to be in that space. Next up. Here's the kids. So their uniform, they're taught like when uniform teaches you that you're part of something, you're involved, you're part of that community. They give them this uniform, and suddenly they're so proud, and they go out into the community. After school, they're walking home, and people ask them about the school and ask them how their day was, and it's this thing to be proud of, and they absolutely love it. And you can see they do keep their clothes like really beautifully clean. Like, there's this irony where people sometimes look and think, oh, but they're not poor because look at their clothes. But actually, you wouldn't believe where these kids have come from when they look like that. But they do have pride in themselves, and especially in school. They come into school, they want to look the part, and they want to look like they belong there. Next one. So this is, if you don't manage to be able to get out there, or you want to help in another way, you can become a dream builder. So you can give on a monthly basis as well, and that's all on the website, which I'll send you guys the links to and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really good way just to give to the school, and also you can partner with a child as well, so you can you know who they are, and you learn about them, and they send you updates and stuff like that. So yeah, next one. So during COVID, they had to do things online, much like our kids did in the UK. So they tried to keep as many things going that would keep the kids happy and involved and stuff, because their worry, Ruth and Mark's worry, was that after COVID they would see a big loss from kids coming back in. But actually it's been quite a positive. They've lost some, but generally most of the kids have managed to come back into school, so that's great. Next one. Right, I just want to tell you about Emmanuel, because he's a kid that Ruth and Mark were talking about a lot when they came over to the UK this summer. So this is him and his family up here, and him working here, and him graduating. Now sadly, his mum in the red dress, she died of COVID. But he has such a strong relationship with God now that he's come into the school. He doesn't come from Christian, they're not Christians. But he came into the school, learnt about God, felt the love from his teachers and education that he was given, and he has such a strong relationship with God, so that when his mum died, he said that he's got God beside him so he can get through this. And it is just such an amazing testament to how the school can absolutely transform someone's life, so that they are so much stronger and they can leave the school with a really strong relationship with God, and that is the prayer and the hope that Ruth and Mark have above anything else, really. Next one. So this is me, right there. So this is my family. When I was 11, my dad, in those lovely glasses, decided that we would sell everything and go out to Brazil. And my mum is not a risk taker at all, so she was in a massive panic. Me and my sister are 11 and 14, and we were like, wow, this is amazing. And we get out there thinking it's going to be this like beautiful like adventure, and we're in the middle of a slum. So it was a bit of a shock to the system. So this is Christmas 2000 when we were out there, but honestly, going out at 11 years old was the best decision that my parents ever made, because you come from this spoiled environment where you literally have everything, and you go out there and you're thrown in to seeing these crazy lives of these children that are the same age as you, and they're struggling through all of this stuff. And it was just such a humbling, absolutely humbling experience. And this is some of our family that came out to visit us at Christmas so that we could be with them. Next one. This is Kelly and I on the trip. You might be able to spot us in the picture out there. But yeah, we went out on a mission trip with people predominantly from Chelmsford, weren't they? Yeah. And obviously a few of us from Frinton. And we went out for 2 weeks. I think I was out there for 4 in the end, actually. But we stayed on the project, we worked as a team together, we did painting, we ran Bible Club, we went out into the community, we did events together, so we went out and to the mall and stuff like that, and just got a bit of Brazilian culture, went to the beach, and it's just incredible because you get you get the idea, as you go out there, you get to see the culture, you get to like be involved in what Brazil life is all about, and the beaches are incredible and all of that. And then you get to get so involved in what's happening in the project, so that's really incredible as well. Next one. Here's just some old snaps that I just found, and you can see, so this guy here, him and his wife met at CBC or at Univida, and they now run their own business doing eyebrows in Brazil, and it's massive, and they've done really, really well for themselves, and they've made good money, and they've been able to get out of poverty, which is such a great story. The kids are just so joyful and fun, and it's just such an amazing experience. Next one, please. So this is Jay. I couldn't find a picture of her. I painted this for my my university project because I based my whole final collection on her. But I just want to tell you a story about Jay. I think it was either when we were out on the project, I can't remember, or when I was younger. But we were walking through the slum and Macondas had taken us out, and it was lunchtime. And we were just going to visit a family, and Jay's wasn't in school that day, so we didn't know why she wasn't there. So we went out to try and go to her house. And we got to the house, and Macondas knocked on the door, and there was no answer, so he knocked again, no answer. So he goes over to the window, which wasn't a window, it's just an open hole, and he looked through the window, and there's like, I think there's 8 children in the family, living in one room in the slum, and they were all asleep. And we were like, why are they sleeping? Why are they asleep? What's going on? And he turned around and said, sometimes they sleep through lunchtime so they can't feel the pain of hunger. And I just remember, it absolutely hit me in the gut. Like, all of us were just absolutely tearful, because we suddenly realised that these kids are sleeping instead of eating, and that is the real dilemma that they're living through. So yeah, you get so passionate about it because you get angry at how this can happen in the world. But yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of years later, after your family returned, and you came round and you shared with us, a group very much like you guys are in this situation where you're interested in going. We were looking to be going. I think we were pretty much definitely going at this point. And you guys came and shared a bit of your experiences and what the place was like, much like Becky's just shared with you guys. So this mostly is the team that I went with. This group in the middle here. I don't know the number of how many of us were there, sorry, but we went over 2 weeks, just like you're talking about potentially doing, and we went into the school. We just basically went there to offer whatever we could offer them, and it's difficult because you can imagine, as you might be thinking already, whoever's already fairly keen to be going there. You know, we're going to a country where I'm sure none of you speak Portuguese. Is that right? Do you speak Portuguese?
No.
No, you're agreeing, okay.
Yeah, I'm just great.
This was like my biggest concern, right? I'm going to a place to help people and do stuff with people where I cannot communicate with them at all. But one of the great things is the fact that a major part of what you're going to be doing is working with children. And they just don't care that you can't speak to them. They just want you to interact with them. They just want you to play. Come and play a game of football, chase them, come and watch them do they're crazy kids, right? Because they do things like backflips off like, do you remember them doing this? So they've got like climbing frames, and they've got new climbing frames now, which is great, but they'd just be doing backflips off the top, and we're like, oh, that's not good health and safety, is it? but they have all these little skills because they just, yeah, it's mad. But it's great because you can go there and get involved no matter what. I mean, we weren't able to go there and necessarily teach a class because they literally wouldn't know mostly what we're saying. So we wouldn't do an English lesson, but we might support them. And I know a few of us went and got involved in like music lessons and stuff where, using your language didn't matter because you're using a different language. So that was really cool. I mean, there's some quirky things about going there, which, as it is when you go to any other culture or any other place, especially somewhere that's a bit more exotic. I remember kind of waking up, you know, and I wake up at home and everything's exactly the same. Whereas you wake up there and there's like the wildlife is on the wall. There's lizards and there's frogs and it's like, oh, okay. Which was fun when you hear the screams from the girls' room. Yeah.
Kelly came out with me, but you're really good friends with Ruth, aren't you? Best friends with Ruth. And you've been out on a number of occasions, so I just thought Kelly could share some of her experience.
So yeah, I'm Kelly. So thought I'd just kind of give you kind of a bit of encouragement really about going on a mission trip, and it's being filmed, so there's a chance that Ruth might actually get to see this. But I just really wanted to encourage you, because you always think that people going on mission trips are those people, those really super spiritual people, those people that have got it all together, those people that have had like it written in the sky, go on the mission trip, you know, all these people that come up the front, and it was so clear, you know, someone just happened to tell them you need to go, or they read something in the Bible that directs them just to it. But I wanted to encourage you that sometimes you just get that feeling on the inside of maybe I should go. So I heard about Brazil from Becky's dad, and I heard about the other trips and everything, and I'm a geography teacher over at Mayflower, and so I teach geography, and I'd learned about Brazil when I was at school, and I'd learned about it at university, and actually I just wanted to go there. I wanted to go and see the favela, and I just got that feeling on the inside, so I signed up for a trip, and then I kind of was like, oh, I feel like I need some friends to come with me, so I wrote my friends into it, I wrote your cousin into it, and then I was best mates with Ruth. We were at university together, we met in halls, we lived together for a couple of years, and she just got back from Africa, and she was really having a, where am I going to go in my life? I think I'm going to go to Africa, I just don't really know. I was like, do you want to come to Brazil? So I'm not really sure about Brazil, I'm not really into South America, it's Africa. She said, but God's just not really laying it on, I just can't really work out what to do. So she was like, you know, I'll come. But she was, and all along, so I'm just not sure if it's a God thing, but I just feel like, okay, I should come along with you. We went. Now the rule is you should not get into relationships on mission trips, okay, that is the rule, okay, and she didn't break that rule, exactly, but basically, and she then got with Mark, and that was heading up the project. You'll hear us use both names. His name is Maconjus, but when you're there after a while, we just end up calling him Mark because it's quite a mouthful and stuff and things to kind of keep saying with our Brazilian pronunciation. So they then got together. So my kind of link with the project is obviously between going there, but also is one of my best friends is out there and stuff. So it's great now. Like last week, internet's amazing. Like we were on WhatsApp and we were just videoing it, and she's like showing us around and chatting to the kids and everything. So I just really want to encourage you, if you've just got that niggling thought on the inside, maybe I should do it, because I just feel I should. It doesn't have to be some really big, like, thunderbolt moment that you should go. Just wanted to encourage you as well that in our team, so I can't even remember how many times I've been over 3 times on mission trips, I think. So I went over, ended up leading it. We took a load over from Chelmsford, Ealing, or you might have heard of the charity Hand in Hand as well, that's a mission organisation. So we went out with them. So various different times I went over. You can really do anything on the team. So people that are musical can do that. Anyone that's got any IT skills. So any kind of programming, designing, that stuff is really important. Even if you can just swing around a skipping rope or just play with the kids, normally you go along and paint, don't you? And so we would do loads of this whitewashing paint. I've never painted before. I don't think I was any good at it. In fact, I was rubbish at it, and so I kind of got encouraged to go and help in the castles. It really was quite dreadful. And the rest of the team got encouraged to carry on doing it, but I kind of got ushered into another room. But I mean, I've never done stuff like that and things. We seem to do lots of rubbing down and different things and everything. But actually, it didn't matter. And even if you just clean the toilets, at one point for the team and everything, it doesn't really matter. You can serve in whatever way, even doing plaiting the girls' hair, playing football. Although the guys the boys played barefoot. Okay, so we did have girls on the team and boys on the team that played, or guys on the team playing football. But they wanted to make it fair with the kids. They did it barefoot. They didn't last very long. Okay, our English guys and girls went and put their shoes straight back on because the grass is really bristly out there, because it's really dry and everything. But just want to encourage you, whatever you do, even if you think I can't offer anything, you can do.
It's such an incredible place, and I think everybody that has visited and that I've spoken to before just comes back with a changed heart and a changed perspective. And even if you never end up going back to the project, it just never leaves you. either. And I think the school is twofold. It's helping the children, but it's also changing lives of people that visit and making them better people for the future.
Fantastic, thank you guys so much.
No,
I think what's amazed me is obviously we've sort of heard of Mark and Ruth and stuff, and we've had a bit of connection with them. And after all the years they've been doing it, they're still so passionate about it. And it's so lovely, like you guys have all got that same passion. I think that's just what's really beautiful about this project. It just seems to really sort of fulfil that in people, which is really lovely. So yeah, just thank you so much. It was really, really good. I think lots of people will want to watch the video and hear about it because it just sounds amazing.